Part 1. Biography of Victor Lustig. Victor Lustig was born on January 4, 1890, in the small town of Ostrava, which at that time was part of Austria-Hungary. Today it is the territory of the Czech Republic. His family belonged to the middle class, and Victor himself from his youth showed an interest in languages, mathematics, and most importantly, psychology. He was a brilliant manipulator, which in the future helped him go down in history as one of the greatest swindlers of the 20th century. Early years and the beginning of a fraudulent career. From his youth, Victor was interested in gambling and card tricks. Possessing an extraordinary mind and charm, he quickly realized that deception is an art and began to improve his skills. By the age of 20, he was already traveling around Europe, posing as an aristocrat, businessman, investor, or scientist. Outwardly, he matched the image of a rich man. He wore expensive suits, used luxury perfume, and always stayed in luxury hotels. Lustig's first high-profile scam was the so-called money machine, a device that was supposedly capable of printing real banknotes. He demonstrated the operation of this machine to potential buyers. The device actually issued several bills, but then stopped working. By the time the victim realized the deception, Lustig was already far away with their money. Moving to the USA and new schemes. After the First World War, Victor Lustig went to America, where he continued to engage in fraud. He easily gained the trust of bankers, investors, and even famous criminals. There are rumors that even Al Capone himself became his victim. Lustig convinced the gangster to invest $50,000 in a non-existent deal, and then, in order to avoid Capone's wrath, returned the money to him, creating the impression of a decent businessman. But his most sensational scam was yet to come. The Eiffel Tower scam. Part 2. How he sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Paris, 1925. In 1925, Victor Lustig came to Paris, where he learned of the debates surrounding the Eiffel Tower. The authorities of the time were discussing its fate. The structure required expensive repairs, and many citizens considered it ugly and unnecessary. Lustig saw this as an ideal opportunity for a scam. Introducing himself as a high-ranking official of the Ministry of Post and Telegraph, he organized a meeting with the largest metallurgical companies in France. At a secret meeting in a luxury hotel, he announced that the government had decided to dismantle the tower and sell it for scrap metal. Everything had to be done in the strictest secrecy to avoid protests. The first sale, one of those invited, was the rich but gullible businessman André Poisson. He saw the deal as a chance to make a huge fortune. To speed up the process, Poisson offered Lustig a bribe, which the swindler kindly accepted. After receiving the money, he immediately left Paris for Vienna. When Poisson realized that he had been deceived, he chose not to report it to the police to avoid public disgrace. Second sale. A few months later, Lustig returned to Paris and repeated the scam with a new group of businessmen. This time, one of them became suspicious and contacted the police. Upon learning of this, Lustig immediately fled the country. This case went down in history as one of the most daring scams of the century. The swindler not only deceived rich businessmen, but did it twice. Part 3. How he died, arrest and trial. After escaping from France, Victor Lustig went to America again. There he continued his fraud, but with counterfeit bonds. His scams attracted the attention of the FBI, and after years of surveillance, Lustig was arrested in 1935. A search of his home revealed a huge amount of counterfeit money, as well as a list of wealthy people he was planning to defraud. Despite an attempt to escape from prison, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Alcatraz prison Lustig was sent to Alcatraz, one of the most heavily guarded prisons in the United States. He spent the last years of his life there. He remained a gentleman even in prison, never confessing to his crimes and continuing to charm those around him. The end of a legend. On March 4, 1947, Victor Lustig died of pneumonia in a federal prison in Springfield, Missouri. Thus ended the life of a man who was able to sell the Eiffel Tower twice and deceive the greatest criminals of his time. Conclusion: the story of Victor Lustig is the story of a brilliant swindler who used not force but the ability to persuade. He went down in history as a man who managed to pull off one of the most daring scams of the 20th century. And perhaps, if his genius had been channeled into a peaceful channel, he would have become one of the great entrepreneurs or politicians. But he chose another path, the path of a swindler, leaving behind a legend.